All right, let's go ahead and start with our topic today, factoring trinomials when a is greater than 1. So some things that we already know right here. A trinomial is a polynomial with 3 terms. All right, every time we are factoring here, we are going to see 3 terms in our trinomial. Now, for those 3 terms here, we have ax squared plus bx plus c. Our a, always that letter here right in front of our x squared. B, always the letter in front of the x. And C is always the letter that does not have a variable with it, okay? A should always be positive, should never be negative, and your terms should always be in descending order. So that means we need to have our x squared or our variable squared first, followed by our variable, followed by our non-variable. Factoring trinomial method. We will use the x method just like we did with factoring when a was equal to 1. But once we figure out here what our S1 and our S2 are, things are going to look a little bit different. So starting off with our starting off with our x method, we will first come up with a, b, and c. That'll be the first step. The second step is going to be to come up with our x, right? And then once we have that, our third step is going to be to figure out what numbers multiply to give us a times c and add to give us b. All right, so steps 1, 2, and 3. Then once we have that, we will then have to decide where we want to put our 2 numbers, if we want to put them on the left or if we want to put them on the right. Once we decide that, then we will write them in this format down here. So we will have ax squared in the front. That comes directly from the original question. We're going to have c at the end, which also comes directly from the original question. Then we're going to have our left side with an x in it. Notice that x, that's very important. And then our second side here, our right side, with an x as well. So a little bit different than what we did last week. The biggest thing I can tell you here is to remember, always remember to include an x with your 2 numbers. All right. Once we get in this form here, then we'll be doing some grouping. Reminder, always got to check for a GCF first. So every time we do a question here, we're going to check for a GCF first. Starting with this example here, we got 6x squared plus 17x plus 5. Checking for a GCF here. I don't see a GCF through any of these. So this is going to be our A, our B, and our C. We will need to find those first. So A is going to be 6, B is going to be 17, and C is going to be 5. So that was our first step. Then we're going to use the x method here. So remember, our x method is a times c on top with our b on the bottom. So when we do that x method here, a times c looks like that's going to be 6 times 5. 6 times 5. So our top part here is going to be 30. Our bottom part is going to be our b, which is 17. All right, so we got 6 times 5 on the top, or 30 on the top, and 17 on the bottom. So remember, whenever we do this, we have to multiply to get the top number. We have to add to get the bottom number. So multiply to get the top number, add to get the bottom number. Now, once we have all of this, the next step, the very next step here is going to be to write out all of the factors of the number on top. So our number on top here is 30, so I want to write out all of the factors that multiply to give me 30. So 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 times 10 is 30, 5 times 6, that is also 30. All right, so all of these here multiply to give me 30. Now I want to see which one of these hopefully add to give me 17. 1 plus 30 here is 31. Looks like it'll be 2 plus 15 right here that adds to give us 17. That's exactly what we're looking for. So we're looking for 2 and 15. They multiply to give us 30, add to give us 17. Those are going to be our 2 magic numbers. So now what I want to do is I want to rewrite the first term, our ax squared. So 6x squared. And we also want to rewrite the c, so our plus 5. So 6x squared, we're going to write it in this form, plus something x plus something x plus 5. All right. Now our two numbers here are 2 and 15. 2 and 15. So here's the deal. I want to figure out which one of these will go best with 6x squared. So our two options here are 2x or 15x. Which one of these numbers here appears to go better with 6? And if you can't really tell, maybe we should look at 5. Which one of these two numbers here goes better with 5? Well, I know 2 does not go into 5. However, if 15 goes into 5, well, 5 goes into 15. So I want to put here, I'm thinking I want to put my 15 on the right-hand side to combine it with that 5. So we will put that 15 on the right-hand side, and we will put the 2 on the left-hand side. So this is going to be 6x squared plus 2x plus 15x plus 5. 6x squared plus 2x plus 15x plus 5. All right. Now that we have this, what we need to do is we need to turn this into a grouping problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just rewrite this so you guys can see this as one in the same color. 6x squared plus 2x plus 15x plus 5. Got all of that in the same color now. And we're going to turn this into a grouping problem. So we're going to have a red, and we are also going to have a blue. All right. So first off, solving for the red, what I want to do is I want to get a GCF taken out first. So I'm thinking here, one thing I will tell you guys, you will always be able to take out an X to start off. Always take out an X. All right, we can always take out an X. Now let's look at the two numbers. So 2 and 6, looks like the GCF between those is going to be a 2. So our GCF here is 2x, so we will divide both sides, or both numbers here, by 2x. So 6x squared divided by 2x, 6 divided by 2 is 3, x squared divided by x, that's going to give us an x. 2x divided by 2x, well, that's literally the exact same thing, 2x divided by 2x. So that's going to be a 1. So for our red line here, we get 2x times 3x plus 1. Over here, we need to take out a GCF. And I'm thinking here between 5 and 15, we will probably be taking out 5. All right, 5 goes into both terms. Since 5 goes into both of these, I know 5 is the number we need to take out. So factor out of 5. So notice in the first one, example here, we did take out an x. In the second example, we did not. That's going to stay pretty consistent. Okay. Normally, we're only going to be able to take an x out of one of these. Oftentimes, it is the first time, but there can be cases where it's the second one. I would say most likely here, as long as you see an x in both terms, you are able to take out an x. All right. So now dividing 15x divided by 5, that's going to give us 3x. 5 divided by 5, that's going to give us 1. So hopefully you guys are able to see the relationship here between our parentheses, 3x plus 1, 3x plus 1. Those are the same set of parentheses. So that tells us we did the question correctly. The last step we need to do is combine these parentheses, 3x plus 1, and then take the other two terms that we had and combine those as well. So 2x plus 5. We're going to need to combine that. 2x plus 5. So 3x plus 1 times 2x plus 5. That's the final answer. Alrighty, next question here. We've got 7x squared plus 29x plus 4. The first thing I want to do is look for a GCF among these four. It does not appear that we have a GCF because 29 would be prime. So since there's no GCF, let's go ahead and write down our A, our B, and our C. Looks like A is 7, B is 29, C is 4. All right, so now that we have found our A, our B, and our C, let's go ahead. Okay, now that we've gone ahead and found our A and our B and our C, we are good to go ahead and start using our X method. So our X method here, remember, is A times C on the top with B on the bottom. So A times C here, 7 times 4, that gives us 28. And on the bottom here is 29. So we need two numbers to multiply to give us 28 and add to give us 29. I'll let you guys in on a little secret here. Anytime the number on the top and the number on bottom are one number away from each other, we will always be using their the number 1 as well as whatever number came with that. So 1 times 28 is equal to 28. As you can see, 1 plus 28 is equal to 29. So that's exactly what we were looking for. So 1, 1 and 28 are our two numbers here. Now let's go ahead and try to figure out where we can put those. So I know 1 and 28 are our two. But when we rewrite this equation here, remember we write this as 7x squared plus a number plus our c. And in this case, our c is 4. So 7x squared, we need to somehow find a way to put 1 and 28. Need to put 1x and 28x. We need to put those somewhere in here. Now this is exactly what I'm thinking. We got the numbers 7x squared and 4. As of right now, it looks like 7 is the bigger number. 4 is obviously the smaller number. Because there's not much difference, we know 7 goes into 28. We know 4 goes into 28. Because there's not too much of a difference, I like to put the big number with the big number and the small number with the small number. So I'll put 28x, or 28 plus 28 on the left, and I will put plus 1 on the right. So plus 1x. All right, so we should have something like this: 7x squared plus 28x plus x plus 4. Now you may be able to do it the other way. This is just the way that I prefer to set it up. So if you do it another way and it works out, that is great. Now from here, this is just a grouping problem again. So we got 7x squared plus 28x. That's going to be our red problem. X plus 4, that'll be our blue. So here, first thing we need to do, solve for a GCF. Figure out here what our GCF would be. So looking at our numbers 7 and 28, looks like 7 goes into 28, which tells me that could be a GCF. And like we talked about in the last one, we can take out an x. So we can take out here a 7x from both of these. So take out a 7x. Now when we divide that, just going to get x. Over here, 28x divided by 7. That's going to give us a 4. So on the left-hand side here, we get 7x times x plus 4. We're hoping that these parentheses here look something like the other parentheses. However, I notice right here, x plus 4, well, that looks really, really similar to what we already have, right? So I don't really want to change anything about this. And whenever I don't want to change something about what we have, I can factor something out that does not change it, and that something is a 1. I can factor out a 1. Okay, if I factor out a 1 from this, that does not change the equation whatsoever. That keeps our parentheses the same exactly at x plus 4, which is what we need. So our final answer here, now that we see that our parentheses are the same, it's x plus 4 times 7x plus 1. X plus 4 times 7x plus 1. All righty, next one here, 5x squared plus 13 plus 6. First thing, look for a GCF here, 5, 13, 6. Well, 13 is prime. 5 is also prime, no GCF. Fill out our A, our B, and our C. So 5, 13, and 6. Go ahead and hit that X method now. A times C on the top. So 5 times 6 on the top. That's going to give us 30. And B on the bottom here with 13. So we've got the number 30. Need two numbers to multiply to give us 30. And are going to add to give us 13. We've actually already done one of these with 30, so should sound a little familiar. We got 1 times 30 with 2 times 15. 3 times 10. This is where it would be really nice if you wrote these down every time. You wouldn't have to go through and figure out exactly what these were again. You could just look back on your prior examples. So now I know all of these factors here multiplied to give me 30. Let's see what they add to get us. Hopefully, we're going to get a 13 in here somewhere. So 31, we got 17. Looks like right here, this is going to be the 13 that we were looking for. 3 and 10. All right, 3 and 10. So 3 and 10 are going to be the numbers that we look for. In order to figure out which side I want to put them on, I'm going to go ahead and write out our 5x squared plus a number plus our c, which is 6. So our two numbers here are 3x and 10x. I want to know where to put them. Well, if I know on the left-hand side here that we have a 5, I know that 5 is not going to go very well with 3x. There's not really any number that we can take out there. So I'm thinking probably don't want to put it with that. I'd like to put it with this 10x right here. Okay, 5x squared, 10x. I think those go really well together. I know 5 goes into both of them. Over here, we got a 3x. Okay, I like 3 and 6 together. I think those go pretty well together. So what we had a plus 10 on the left with a plus 3 on the right. Again, realize how we are including these x's with our numbers. Alrighty, now, again, break this into two questions. You got a black line here, got a blue line. Find the GCF, factor it out. So looking at the first one, finding the GCF here, again, I can always take out an x. And then I'm thinking here 5 and 10. Well, I know that 5 goes into both of those. So I'm going to divide both of these. I'm going to factor out a 5x. Factor out a 5x. So 5x squared divided by 5x. That's going to give me x. 10x divided by 5x, that's going to give me a positive 2. So we got 5x times x plus 2. We're hoping we can find that x plus 2 in the other side as well. Over here, 3x plus 6. Well, again, we don't want to take an x out of the second side here. So I'm thinking, I know 3 goes into both of these terms, so we'll take out a 3 and divide that from both of these. 3x divided by 3 just leaves us with x, and 6 divided by 3 just leaves us with 2. So as you can see, our parentheses are the same. Final step, go ahead, combine both of those parentheses. And then make sure we get our other two terms as well, 5x plus 3. So x plus 2 times 5x plus 3. Next question here, we got 6x squared plus 22x minus 8. So when we go to look at this one, I do notice this is the first one that we actually have some sort of GCF. 6, 22, and 8, these are all positive, or no, I'm sorry, not positive, but these are all even numbers. And I know that every even number is divisible by 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out a 2. I'm going to say 2 times 3x squared. Now I got to divide each of these by 2. When I do that, 3x squared plus 11x minus 4. 2 times 3x squared plus 11x minus 4. So now what we need to do is we're going to just solve this problem like normal. We're going to look specifically at this 3x squared plus 11x. This 2, we can actually kind of pretend that it's not there until the very end. Make sure that we include it at the end. Okay, whatever our number or our factors are that we factor out are going to have to be shown with a 2 in front of them. So our A, our B, and our C here. A is 3, B is positive 11, C is negative 4. So this time we have a negative C, which is a little bit different for us. We haven't had a negative one yet. Let's see how this plays out. So here we have our X method. This is going to be 3 times negative 4, which gives us a negative 12. So we got a negative 12 on the top with a positive 11 on the bottom. Okay, negative 12 on the top with a positive 11 on the bottom. So remember, we need to multiply to get a negative. We need to add to get a positive. So in order to multiply to get a negative, we would need to have 1 positive times 1 negative. All right, so when we do negative 12 here, I'm going to have to show every single positive, or I'm going to have to show every case possible. So I'm going to go ahead and first write my numbers with the left-hand side being positive. So 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. As you can see, those numbers on the left-hand side are positive. But I'm also going to rewrite these three numbers. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. And I'm going to make the right side positive. All right, because this shows every possible case that we could be adding, and makes this a lot easier if those first three don't work. So we got negative 1 plus 12. Negative 1 plus 12. Well, I believe that's going to give us the answer we were looking for. We needed that 11. All right. So we added to get 11. So our two numbers here that work are negative 1 and a positive 12. Negative 1 and a positive 12. So the two numbers we're going to be adding to our old equation. So we'll have 3x squared plus something minus 4. Two numbers here are 12x and negative x. Again, it doesn't really look like it matters this time on where we put these. So I like to leave the big numbers together, leave the small numbers together as well. So, I mean, I know it's not much of a difference here one way or the other, but I'm going to put the negative x on the left-hand side here. So we're going to say a negative 1 on the left and a positive 12 on the right. So negative 1 on the left and a positive 12x on the right. Okay, now that we have this, just another grouping problem. We got 3x squared minus x and 12x minus 4. Let's go ahead and solve that red line first here. Since we have a negative 1, we're probably not going to have too many numbers here that could come out of negative 1. So I'm thinking here the only thing we can factor out would be an x. So factor out an x from both of these here. This is going to leave us with 3x minus 1. 3x minus 1. We're hoping to get the same thing here on the other side. So 12x and 4. Well, we know we can't take out an x, but 4 does in fact go into 12. So we can take out a 4 from both of these. And this is going to leave us with 3x minus 1 again. All right, now that you see that these parentheses here are the same, all we have left to do is to go ahead and combine those parentheses. However, what we've got to make sure here is we factored out a GCF in the beginning, right? So we can't just leave that astray. We got to include that in the final answer. So include your GCF here of a 2. Take that 2, and then we're going to start our parentheses. So 3x minus 1, and then our other two numbers here, x plus 4 as well. All right, those are our two factors, as well as that 2 that we took out in the beginning. So final answer for that, 2 times 3x minus 1 times x plus. All right, this question here, 10y squared minus 35y plus 30. First thing I want to do is check for a GCF. So looking at 10, 35, and 30, appears to me that there's a 0 or a 5 at the end of each of these numbers here. So we can factor out a 5. So if we factor out a 5 here, we can divide that by all of these terms. So this is going to leave us with 2y squared minus 7y plus 6. 2y squared minus 7y plus 6. All right, so now from here, go ahead, give me your A, your B, your C. A is 2, B is negative 7, and C is 6. So there's our A, B, and C. Now we can go ahead and start using that X method. So X method here, A times C on top. It's going to be 2 times 6, which is 12, and then a negative 7 on the bottom. So we're looking to multiply to get 12, hoping to add to get negative 7. With a negative on the bottom here, that tells me we probably are going to need some negative numbers, right? No two positive numbers can add to be negative. We're going to need some negative numbers. So I know anything negative times a negative is equal to a positive. Negative times a negative is equal to a positive. Well, let's go ahead and start multiplying here. So -1, -12, -2, -6, -3, -4. I think those are really our only options, right? So multiplying those, we get +12. We are hoping to add to get a -7. Well, -1 minus 12 is -13. -2 minus 6 is a -8. And -3 minus 4 is the exact numbers that we were looking for, a -7. So -3, -4, those are going to be our two numbers. So let's go ahead and break down this equation here, see where we can put them. So starting off here with our left-hand side, 2y squared plus something, actually not plus, because our numbers are negative. We are going to want minus 2y squared minus something plus 6. All right, so two numbers that we can use here are a -3, -3y, -4y. So again, I want you to be kind of careful as to where you put these. It will work either way, but I would rather us kind of put them where it looks best. So 2y squared minus, hopefully you guys can see 2 and 4. Those numbers obviously go together pretty well. And 3y and 6. 3 and 6 go together as well. Okay, so 2y squared minus 4y minus 3y plus 6. That's going to be our equation. So now, again, another grouping problem. We got a red line, we got a blue line, trying to solve for the GCF. Take that GCF out, and then we will have our answer. So 2y squared minus 4y. Remember, we can always take out a variable. Looking at now our 2. I'm thinking 2y is going to be our GCF. Divide both sides by 2y. Right here, 2y squared divided by 2y is y, and 4y divided by 2y is just 2. Now, I notice we are hoping to get a y minus 2. Y minus 2. Well, as of right now here, this is negative and this is positive. Okay, so that tells me if we need to switch these signs, we are going to need to take out a negative. We need to take out a negative. So when we do that, we will take out a -3. 3 goes into 3y, and 3 goes into 6. So we're going to divide both of these by a -3. So -3y divided by -3 just leaves us with a positive y. And positive 6 divided by -3 is going to leave us with a -2. So this is 2y times y minus 2 minus 3 times y minus 2. Hopefully you guys can see there our parentheses are the same. So go ahead, throw those in the same set, and then include your other two numbers as well, 2y minus 3. And lastly here, make sure we remember that GCF that we took out right here. We took out a 5 very early on. We've got to make sure we include that in the final answer. So our final answer here, 5 times y minus 2 times 2y minus 3. Last one here. We got 6x squared minus 36x minus 42. So we got a bunch of negatives going on right now. Now, when we look for a GCF, luckily this one right here, there's definitely a GCF we could take out. 6, 36, 42. A 6 goes into all of these. So look what happens here when we are able to take out a 6. When we are able to take out a 6 here, we're going to be left with x squared minus 6x minus 7. X squared minus 6x minus 7. What do you notice about the A right here? Well, the A is 1. All right, the A is 1. So this is actually going to kind of change up the way that we do it. B is -6, C is -7. With A being equal to 1, we are going to do this just like we did this in the previous week. Okay, we're not going to do it the way we have in the rest of this lesson, but we're going to look at to what we did last week. So go ahead, make your A times C your X method here. So 1 times a -7 leaves us with a -7. B is a -6. So we need two numbers here that multiply to give us a -7 and add to give us a -6. All right, hopefully you guys remember, whenever we are multiplying to get a negative number, that tells me only one number can be negative. So really, there's only two options here, is -1 times 7 or 1 times -7. So hopefully one of these here will leave us to a -6. As you can see, it is going to be the second option, 1 minus 7. That leads us there, okay? And at this point here, since since A is equal to 1, we do not need to use grouping. We can use this as the traditional X method. We do not need to do much to this. We can say this is a +1. We can say this is a -7. And all we need to do is say X plus 1 times X minus 7 and make sure we include that GCF that we took out. So final answer, 6 times X plus 1 times X minus 7.